So here we are again, coming in, looking at the list view. Only we're gonna get crazy this time.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, we're gonna actually code up something that looks like what the list view is actually showing. That actually might be simple list item 2.
I think that it looked pretty simple.
So it's pretty much the same as that first pass around.
Are we using the same data set?
No, this time, and I think I might move the cursor up on it. Maybe not. We're using the bit above it.
Mm-hmm.
So the last one we were using the string array. This time we're actually using an array of place objects.
Mm-hmm.
And every time that you make a list view for anything in the real world, you're definitely going to have like a data class anyway. So this is more realistic anyway.
Right. And so we're seeing the same thing again here that we saw in the last one.
Mm-hmm. Where, we're using find view by ID, getting my list view.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, I didn't forget that. I just wanted to show the order.
Yeah, to remind people about typecasting it.
Mm-hmm. And here's where everything gets different.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the context and other stuff in there yet.
Well, it's because it hasn't been created, so we're actually creating it now.
Okay.
Because we know we have a data. This is usually the order you do it in. I know I have data that's place, and then you make an adapter with the name being the same.
Okay.
And apparently that was the first time that I had done that in the next version of Android Studio.
That does get annoying, the get
pop-ups. Yeah. So now you can extend from base adapter when you do this stuff, but I always like to use the array adapter. I find it to be easier. Every single tutorial I've ever seen uses the base adapter, and I feel like, why wouldn't you want just the extra functionality?
Yeah, what is the extra functionality that you kind of assume use of?
It's just easier for some of the default pieces. You don't have to override as many methods if you do the array adapter, as long as you're actually dealing with an array of objects. I mean, you can be dealing with a much different kind of data set.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm used to using arrays because they're fast.
Mm-hmm. And how did you know you just generated that specific constructor, or that specific method? How did you know to use that?
Well, that's interesting because watch here in a second. Because I was sitting there looking at this and I was like, wait a minute. 1, 2, 3. And you can see my brain start to pause where I'm like,
you're like, uh-oh.
That wasn't the right constructor. Crap, I'm going to have to do it again.
Got it.
So to answer your question, I didn't know right off the top of my head. I actually misread it. But you want the one that's just as simple as you need for what you're doing.
Right. And that one had 4 parameters. You were looking for one that had 3.
Mm-hmm. Well, I usually, again, when I write it myself, I write layout resource ID, and it calls it resource. And so my eye went astray. But those are the only things you need, really. You need, again, a context because you're drawn to the screen.
Mm-hmm.
The resource is really the row, and then the data is the data.
Got it. And that's why you renamed the variable for that. Yeah,
I'll rename it here. Because otherwise, people, you deal with an int, and you're not really sure what does that represent. So I think it's good with primitives to be really descriptive about what they represent.
Nice.
No. And here we are just kind of passing it up and saving a version.
This.
Yeah. This. I always like constructors like this. They're very sneaky. It's just kind of like, yeah, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to save whatever you were doing.
And so at this point, what have we got wired up? We've basically created our place adapter. We've created the constructor.
Mm-hmm. We could actually be using some methods to try to get those variables from what we're extending from, but it's just much more clear when you see like, okay, here are the things that are relevant. But we're just setting up a constructor to grab the initial pieces, just like we did with our array adapter. And I usually get item and get count. I'm just used to putting them in there because they're usually the first thing you change. For simplicity's sake, I just put in get item. I'm not going to change it, I don't think, in this. But and then get view, of course, which is the really the only reason why you're making this thing in the first place. Everything revolves around that get view method.
Right.
Again, it's fine. I don't like how they call these things. I mean, I understand why they call it convert view, but for our purposes, I'm going to rename it row. It's much better.
Although they did use position this time for the int.
I know. Why did they not?
Why didn't they do it in the other context?
It's inconsistency when dealing with tons and tons of smart people in the same room.
Nice little comment there for people following along.
Oh, that wasn't for them. That was for me, so I could remember what I'm doing.
Well, you could be one that's following along.
But yeah, the thing that you got to always remember is like you're not just taking a view. I mean, you're taking that XML and you actually have to have it be parsed in a way that you can use it as an object. Yeah,
I really like the word inflate in this in its use here, because it's the idea that it's not. It's there as it's represented in memory, but it needs to be expanded on by fill it up with data.
Mm-hmm. And then here again, we're just saying inflate that row, parent. Do not attach to root.
So I get lost there in terms of the false. Why are we passing the false in?
You don't want... So the views have a hierarchy where they connect, and that is basically telling you, like, hey, I want this object row to be equal to what this inflates, and don't start connecting it to other things. In that case, it would attach it to the parent view, which I'd have to look up exactly how that works again, but it's... we don't want to do that. We just want a view object, and we want it all on our own. So I put it there to remind myself, and also I'm not sure what the default behavior is.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are, we're just kind of checking up on place. We got a string, we got an int, we got a string, and a pop-up. That's a little pop-up message for all those pieces of data.
Got it.
And here's our actual row XML. We got a default picture. That's the name view, and that's the zip view. Or zip code text view, I guess is what it's called here. And notice also, again, that the height of this row is wrap content. So even though it's all white, it's not actually going to be that high. It's going to be as high as whatever's in it, which is what you want to do for a row. So it can expand for data you didn't anticipate. A lot of people try to set that to be like a specific height, and then they get confused when someone tweets like large German words, and they're like, oh, wait, this doesn't fit at all.
Right. Because it's so common to use large German words.
And that was a really poor example because Twitter is locked to 140 characters. But somehow I was hoping that analogy would work somehow.
Now I see you're still typing and you just haven't done anything with text view.
Yeah, I was trying something different that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I liked it that way. I like to just kind of fix it on the fly. I think I was trying to like show it again, make sure that we can see that specifically we're using the row. We're not using find view by ID in an activity. Mm-hmm. We're trying to find the view inside the row. And here we're going to do it again with an image view. Oh, see, I didn't correct it that time either. Trying a different flow this time.
Yeah, it feels like you just kind of get used to a comfortability with when you know the error messages that the IDE is giving you are to be ignored and you can fix them later.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just kind of sticking with the context that you have in your working memory at the time.
Right.
So cognitively speaking, just finding your own groove.
Right. And here's the real simple, actually getting the place object out. Thank you for naming it position. And I mean, again, it's real simple, right? You take the view, or you create the view, and then you get references to the pieces on it. You take your data, and then you just wire them together. Kind of just trying to show the first time where I was looking.
So I'm curious about.
Oh wait, hold on. Before we, I think this is going to be.
Is this another one of the?
This is going to be the problem. This is going to be great. Okay, what I don't understand at this point, and I'm curious if anybody else can figure it out. So let's just give like another 5 seconds. Now that we can't even see it. But something went wrong in that zip view.
Okay, on line 50.
Yeah, on line 50. It's going to bite me later, and I love that I'm now talking about this when it's actually, you can't even see it.
So I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to think of what could be improperly set up there.
It's real. Do we want to like wait until the end? Because there's a reveal at the end.
Yeah, let's.
Okay, so we just pointed it out.
I'm just going to keep thinking about it.
Yeah, if you guys can think about like what it is on line 50 that I just do that is not the right thing to do, because we'll watch me figure that out on my own.
Well, hopefully they're following along, and they probably did it too, and now they're going to run into the same thing, or maybe they corrected it if they're on top of things.
I hope that they did. I hope that we've led them down the right path.
Okay.
So this is real simple. We're just taking there's a number that's an ID for what it is, and it's just kind of this long string of, in the context of everything, there's get the resources object, get the identifier for, there's a name of an image, it's in the drawable folder, and then we also need our package name because that's going to help it find out like where the drawable folder actually is. But that line of code is really just setting a number. It's the easiest way I've found to set an image view. If the image is actually something you've brought in from your project. And of course, return the row view, because this is called get view after all.
You're scanning your code, checking it's all.
I'm not scanning line 50.
And now we come back and where you
see now
you originally created these two member variables together simultaneously in the previous ListView basic. Now you're creating it because you had to write it yourself.
Mm-hmm. I must spelled it pace view, if you noticed. Or pace adapter.
It's the Android version of a pacemaker.
Mm-hmm. Pace adapter. And it looks just the same as the array adapter piece. Mm-hmm. Only instead of passing in a array of strings, we're going to pass in actually an array of objects. There's our row. Again, we're not using Android.R, we're using R. That's the data we're actually going to use. I think my favorite word in that one is trepidatiosity. And again, ladies and gentlemen, we always have to be careful, even though it's very obvious that like I just set ListView. Let's just make sure that that thing isn't null. Normally you wouldn't do that in something like this, but oftentimes especially when you get into fragments, you're setting your ListView and finding it is different than where you're setting your adapter. Or you're getting it from the internet maybe in some way, and so you know it's not in the same place. So I know it's kind of silly here. Like, of course it's not null. I just found it.
Would you ever put that into like a try catch?
No, because a try catch should be for situations that I didn't anticipate.
Mm-hmm. This is a very clear, like, this is a case that could go wrong. So yeah, let's just check that one case.
Yeah. If you know how things are going to go wrong, you want to use an if statement because I think it's like 0.001 to 0.06 in terms of how fast it is. Not that that really matters, but
here's
it does
your
if you do
favorite. Here's your favorite generate again.
Int I. Why not just make it position?
They did it right once.
They do it right in other places too. I think there's like two engineers. Like one of them, like I jive with his style, and the other one, like he's really good, but I'm like, oh, you're kind of like an old C guy, and you like to use just single letters. Get on the Java train, man. But here we are right now. We're actually referencing that object, so we're referencing the actual field in the object that we want to do.
69.
Yeah. And this is where did I press it? Yeah.
Yeah.
This is where you're going to watch my slight panic as I cannot actually maneuver the log. I'm like, okay, well that's fine. And here, right, we're like, okay, well, what went wrong? And this is my favorite here, is that I can't find the error at first.
Yeah, you're just trying to run through everything right now.
Well, I'm like, well,
it looks like one of those movies where the whole thing just shuts down.
Well, I'm also so confused, like why Logcat isn't showing me my errors. Later, I would end up finding that I pressed play instead of debug.
Yes, something to avoid.
Yeah,
always debug when you're running. Is that good practice?
No.
Okay.
No, you should when you're debugging something. You definitely get more messages. So here, ladies and gentlemen, let's see if you followed along and you guessed where the issue was. Now, the message is weird. String resource ID. Resources not found.
Had you just not created it or instantiated it? Or was it a wrong data type?
It was a wrong data type. But when you see string resource ID, it might make you think of looking in the XML or anything like that.
Right.
So I'm reading this, I'm like, okay, string resource ID. And I just absolutely just had blinders on. I don't know why I didn't see it.
But not placeadapter.java:50.
Well, that line 50, yeah. So there it is.
You caught the line.
Yeah, I caught the line. I couldn't catch the issue. At first I was like, well, I mean, is there some issue that's percolating through with the text view? And no, look, barking up the wrong tree, man. And it's really easy to do something like this, especially when you have a lot of different views in a row. Because what it is line 50 is asking for, it has a method called setText, and it's asking for something that inherits from things like strings. But place.mzipcode's data type
would make sense that it would be an int.
It is an int. You can't set the text to be an int. Let's see how much longer it takes me to figure out. I'm going to go through one more run through.
One more. Well, but you're going through good practice, which is when you don't see what's going on or what's going wrong, to set some breakpoints, dive into it, figure out exactly what data you're looking at, what's in scope.
Oh, I'm wondering what triggered me to actually figure it out.
I mean, if you hadn't pointed my attention to line 50 as being a mistake, I wouldn't have caught it. But once you did, and here I am
putting it out, int zip code line 9.
Then you start thinking, okay, well, what could be wrong here?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's a good idea to, in these cases, name your data classes, not just with member variables, but like what their type is.
Like mzipcode int or mzipcode number, because you don't
like
necessarily
num zip code, str name of place. Always pay attention to your data types. See, I think just looking at the fact that ZipView was a text view was what triggered that.
Mm-hmm.
But here you guys get it. You get the raw stream here. It's not edited. This is what happens when you code these things up, so you can actually see what the process is. And there you go.
I love it. Looks so much better than the just standard basic Android layout.
Yeah, right? You get all that color.
Just more control.
Yeah. As you can see in the log, you can see that it's actually logging when you click the listener. So yeah, that's how most people do ListView, but we're going to do it one better in the next.
Love it.